"Dad, stop. You're embarrassing yourself." I looked up. The bank manager wasn't looking at me. She was looking at Miles. "Is he always this confused?" she asked him. Miles didn't defend me. He nodded. That nod did more damage than any insult. The bank manager's office smelled like old coffee and furniture polish. We'd been there long enough for Miles to decide I didn't get a voice. "Dad, please. You're confusing them," Miles said from behind me. His hand was on my shoulder, gentle, controlling. "I'm not confused," I said. Miles laughed softly, turned to the bank manager. "See? This is what I mean." The manager nodded, like I was a case file, not a person. Two people in the waiting area outside had stopped pretending not to listen. "Mr. Whitmore, I'm afraid there's been an issue with your savings account," the manager said. Her name tag read Darlene. She kept glancing at Miles instead of me, like I wasn't even there. "What kind of issue?" Miles squeezed my shoulder. "Dad, let me handle this." I asked a question. Darlene cleared her throat. "The account was closed last month. The funds were transferred to a joint account under your son's name. We have your signature on the authorization form." The words didn't land right. I'd been banking here for 32 years, since before Miles was born. Darlene had been here maybe 3. I didn't sign anything. Miles's voice went soft, gentle, the way you talk to a confused child. "Dad, we talked about this, remember? You said you wanted help managing things." Darlene smiled. That particular smile people use when they've already decided you're not worth listening to. I could feel people watching, not helping, just watching. I never said that. Darlene folded her hands on the desk. "Sir, I understand this can be disorienting. Memory issues are common at your age. 71. She said it like I was 91, like my birthday gave her permission to stop seeing me as a customer and start seeing me as a problem. Miles patted my shoulder again. "It's okay, Dad. That's why I'm here." I stood up, slowly. My knees didn't work like they used to, but my mind did. "I'd like to see that signature." Darlene exchanged a glance with Miles, the kind of glance that said, "Should we humor him?" She pulled a form from her folder and turned it toward me. The signature looked close, but the way the W started, it wasn't mine. I'd been signing my name the same way for 50 years. Some of you know exactly what this feels like. Miles drove me home. He talked the whole way about how confused I'd been lately, about how he was just trying to help, about how Mom would have wanted this. Mom had been gone for 6 years. Easy to speak for the dead. They don't argue back. I watched the trees pass outside the window. Maple, oak, the same route I'd driven 1,000 times when I still had my license. When Miles convinced me I shouldn't drive anymore, said it was for my safety, sold my car 3 days later. I wondered now how much he'd gotten for it. A 2015 Camry with 40,000 miles, clean title. He'd said the dealer only offered $3,000. I hadn't questioned it. Why would I? He was my son. That was the mistake. Thinking blood meant honesty. He pulled into my driveway, walked me to the door like I couldn't find it myself, like I was a child who needed supervision getting from car to house. "You should rest, Dad. Big day." I nodded, said nothing. Inside, I stood in the kitchen for a long time. The house was quiet. Too quiet since Eleanor died. But quiet was good for thinking. I didn't react. I remembered everything. 3 months ago, Miles started visiting more often, bringing groceries I didn't need, offering to help with paperwork. He'd asked about my will, about the house, about whether I'd thought about moving somewhere smaller. At the time, I'd thought he was being thoughtful, a good son checking on his aging father. Now, I saw it differently. He wasn't checking on me. He was checking on his inheritance, making sure the assets were still there, making sure I hadn't done anything foolish like donated to charity or remarry. I'd thought he was being a good son. I made coffee, sat at the kitchen table, pulled out the folder I kept in the drawer, bank statements, property deed, Eleanor's life insurance papers, all the things Miles said I should let him organize. Everything was still there, but I hadn't checked in 2 months. That was my first mistake. The second was assuming he thought of me as his father instead of his retirement plan. The next morning, I found the letter. It was in the recycling bin. I only saw it because I'd dropped a coffee filter and had to dig it out. The envelope had my name on it, postmarked 3 weeks ago. County Tax Assessor's Office. Miles must have thrown it away, probably grabbed the mail before I could see it. Another thing I hadn't noticed. Another small theft of autonomy disguised as helpfulness. I opened it carefully. Inside was a notice about a property title review. Standard procedure, it said, just confirming that the recent transfer was legitimate. Transfer. I read it 3 times. According to the letter, my house, the one Eleanor and I bought in 1979, had been transferred to a family trust last month. The trustee was listed as Miles Whitmore. I looked at the date, March 15th. I'd been in the hospital. March 15th, kidney stones. Miles had driven me to the ER at 2 in the morning. I'd been there for 6 hours, pumped full of morphine. At the time, it felt harmless. But now I remembered something. Miles had brought papers to the hospital, said they were insurance forms, asked me to sign while the nurse was checking my IV. I'd been in so much pain I could barely focus. The morphine made everything fuzzy. I just wanted the pain to stop, so I signed. I remember his voice. Just a formality, Dad. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. I'd signed without reading, without my glasses, without my lawyer, without understanding that I was signing away the house Eleanor and I had built our life in. I didn't call Miles. Instead, I drove to the county recorder's office. Took me 40 minutes because I had to use the bus. Miles had sold my car 3 months ago. Said I didn't need it anymore. The number 7's bus. Same one I used to take to work 40 years ago. Back when I had a job. Back when people listened when I spoke. The clerk was a young man with kind eyes. He pulled up the records on his computer. Property at 412 Maple Drive, correct? That's right. He scrolled through files. Looks like the title transferred on March 15th to the Whitmore Family Revocable Trust. Notarized by Cynthia Rourke. Are you the trustee, sir? My son is. He nodded. Didn't ask why a father wouldn't be trustee of his own property. Probably saw this kind of thing every day. Adult children taking control. Elderly parents pushed aside. Would you like copies of the transfer documents? Yes. He printed them. 6 pages. I stood at the counter and read every word. The trust gave Miles full control of the property. He could sell it, rent it, make any decision without my consent. There was a clause about diminished capacity of the grantor. Diminished capacity, legal language for the old man's losing his mind. A polite way of saying, take his keys, take his voice, take his home. My signature was at the bottom of page 4. Same wrong opening stroke on the W, same practiced forgery, same lie, same date on my medical records, same window Miles used. That was the first time I realized this wasn't a family issue. It was a legal one. If you know, you know. I took the bus to the library, used their computer to check my email. The password still worked. Eleanor had set it up years ago. Our anniversary. Buried in spam from 2 weeks ago was a message from Cynthia Rourke, Mobile Notary Services. Thank you for choosing Rourke Mobile Notary. Your documents have been filed. As requested, I am confirming the signing date, March 15th, 10:30 a.m. at residence. 10:30 a.m. I pulled the hospital. Discharge papers from my wallet. I kept everything. Admitted, 2:47 a.m. Discharged, 11:15 a.m. I was in the hospital at 10:30, in a morphine haze. There was no way I signed anything at my residence. That single detail changed everything. The notary had committed fraud, and Miles had arranged it. I printed the email, paid 50 cents for the page, folded it carefully and put it in my jacket pocket. The law office was small, 2nd floor above a diner. I'd found the name in the yellow pages. Eleanor always said lawyers were expensive, but some things were worth the cost. The attorney's name was Harlan, mid-50s, tired eyes. He listened without interrupting. I laid out the documents on his desk, the property transfer, the hospital records, the notary's email. He studied them for a long time. Mr. Whitmore, do you understand what your son has done? Yes. Do you want to pursue this? I thought about that question, really thought about it, because once I said yes, there was no going back. Once I started this, Miles would know, and whatever fragile relationship we still had would be over. But then I thought about Darlene in the bank, looking past me, talking to Miles like I wasn't there. I thought about waking up in that leather chair, confused, powerless. I thought about every time Miles had patted my shoulder and said, "Let me handle this." Yes. Harlan leaned back in his chair. What your son has done, it's elder financial abuse. If we report this, there could be consequences. Real one. I understand. He watched me carefully. Are you sure? I thought about Miles's hand on my shoulder in the bank, the gentle voice, the way everyone looked at him like he was the good son taking care of his difficult father, the way he'd probably tell this story to friends. Dad's getting older. I had to step in. You know how it is. I'm sure. Quiet people prepare louder than they speak. Harlan made notes, filed papers, made phone calls. I came back twice that week. We built the case piece by piece. Silent, methodical. The way I used to work before I retired. Back when I spent my days finding errors in financial statements, looking for numbers that didn't add up, patterns that revealed fraud. I'd been good at it once. Turned out I still was. Miles called me 6 times over the next 2 weeks. I didn't answer. Then he showed up at the house, let himself in with his key, the key I'd given him for emergencies, like this qualified. Dad, you okay? You haven't been answering. I was sitting at the kitchen table, drinking coffee. I've been busy. He looked relieved, or maybe he just looked like someone whose plan was still working. Hard to tell the difference anymore. Thank God. I was worried. He sat down across from me. Uninvited. Listen, I've been thinking. This house is a lot for you to manage. What if we looked at some senior communities, nice places? You'd have people around. Like I was lonely. Like stealing my house was a favor. I like it here. I know, but he gestured around the kitchen. It's a lot of upkeep, and the property taxes are going up. With the trust, we could sell it, and the trust? He stopped. Something in my voice must have changed. Yeah, the one we set up, remember? I remember signing papers in the hospital when I could barely see straight. His face didn't change, but his eyes did, just for a second. That flicker of panic people get when they realize they've been caught. Dad, you agreed to that. The lawyer explained everything. What lawyer? The woman you brought in. The notary. You met with her. Her name was Cynthia Rourke. She was a notary. And she says I signed the papers at 10:30 in the morning on March 15th at this house. Miles went very still. The kind of still that comes right before running. I was in the hospital. He stood up, walked to the window. When he turned around, his expression was different, harder. The mask was slipping, and what was underneath wasn't pretty. You're confused again. This is exactly why we needed the trust. I have the hospital records. His jaw tightened. For a moment, I saw something I'd never seen before in my son's eyes. Not guilt, not shame, calculation. Pure cold calculation about how to handle a PI problem. Dad, let's not do this. Do what? Make this difficult. He said it like I was being unreasonable, like protecting my own property was an inconvenience to his plans. Some people show you who they really are when they think you're not paying attention. Miles had been showing me for months. After Miles left, I sat in Eleanor's chair, the one by the window where she used to read. The house felt emptier than usual. I thought about the day we bought it, 1979. Miles was 2 years old. We'd saved for 7 years for the down payment. Eleanor cried when they handed us the keys. We painted every room ourselves, built the deck in the backyard, planted the maple tree that was now taller than the roof. Miles learned to ride a bike in the driveway. I ran beside him, holding the seat until I let go, and he didn't even notice he was riding alone. His wedding reception was in the backyard. 200 guests. Eleanor made the centerpieces herself. Dried flowers from our garden, Eleanor. Died in the bedroom upstairs. I held her hand. Miles was late. Showed up an hour after she'd gone. Said traffic was bad. I'd thought he understood what this place meant, what we'd built here. But somewhere along the way, he'd stopped seeing memories. He'd started seeing dollar signs. The hardest part wasn't the betrayal. It was realizing I'd raised someone capable of it. Where had we gone wrong? Eleanor and I had given him everything. Good schools, college with no debt, help with his first apartment. We'd been there for every birthday, every milestone. And somewhere in all that giving, he'd learned to take. I pulled out the photo album. Eleanor and me on our wedding day. Miles as a baby, his high school graduation. There was one photo from his 10th birthday. He'd wanted a bicycle, not just any bicycle, a specific one he'd seen in a magazine. Expensive, more than we could afford. Eleanor and I had worked extra shifts for 3 months, saved every penny, surprised him with it on his birthday morning. He'd ridden it twice, then left it in the rain, let it rust. I should have seen it then. The pattern, the entitlement. The problem with getting old is that people stop seeing you as a person. They see a problem to manage, an asset to liquidate. They forget you were someone before they were born. They forget you built everything they're trying to take. I closed the album. Tomorrow, Miles would remember. Harlan scheduled the meeting at his office. Neutral ground. Miles arrived 15 minutes late, walked in looking annoyed. "What's this about, Dad? I had to cancel." He stopped when he saw Harlan, saw the documents on the table. Who are you? Harlan Voss. I'm your father's attorney. Miles's expression shifted, calculated. Dad, what's going on? I gestured to the chair across from me. Sit down. He sat, slowly. Harlan slid the first document across the table. This is the property transfer you executed on March 15th, the one notarized by Cynthia Rourke. Miles didn't touch it. Okay. The notary confirmed the signing took place at 10:30 a.m. at your father's residence. Right. Harlan slid over another paper. This is your father's hospital record. He was admitted at 2:47 a.m. and discharged at 11:15 a.m. He was under medical care at the time the notary claims to have witnessed his signature. The color drained from Miles's face. There must be a mistake. There is, I said, quietly. You made it. He looked at me, really looked at me. For the first time in months, I saw something like fear. Dad, I can explain. You forgot who raised you. The words hung in the air. Harlan continued. We have grounds for fraud, forgery, and elder financial abuse. The district attorney is reviewing the case. Miles leaned forward. This is insane. I'm your son. I was trying to help you by stealing my house. I wasn't stealing. I was protecting you. You're not thinking clearly. You forget things. I pulled out the final document, slid it across the table. It was a cognitive assessment, dated last week, administered by a licensed psychologist. Perfect score. Miles stared at it. I don't forget, I said. I just stopped arguing. The property transferred back to my name 3 weeks later. Miles didn't fight it. His lawyer advised him not to. The paperwork went back where it belonged. He signed what he had to sign. And after that, he couldn't speak for me. Again. I haven't spoken to him since the meeting. Sometimes people ask if I regret it, if I wish I'd handled it differently, if prison time wouldn't have been too harsh for my own son. The answer is no, because this wasn't about revenge. It was about a simple truth. Respect isn't automatic, not even from family, especially not from family. Miles thought my age made me weak, thought my silence meant acceptance. He forgot I spent 30 years as an auditor. My job was finding discrepancies, numbers that didn't add up, patterns that revealed fraud. I didn't lose that skill when I retired. I just stopped using it at work. The house is quiet now. I still sit in Eleanor's chair, still drink my coffee at the kitchen table. But the title is in my name. The accounts are secure, and the door locks have been changed. Some people grow old gracefully. They trust their children. They believe family means safety. I'm not those people. I learned the hard way that love doesn't always flow both directions, that the child you raised might see you as a resource. And I'm okay with that knowledge now, because I learned something these past few months. Justice doesn't shout. It just waits. It waits for the right moment, the right evidence, the right mistake, and then it moves, quietly, precisely. Some of us are older, but we're not blind. We see everything. We see the hand on the shoulder that's really a leash. We see the helpful son who's really positioning himself for inheritance. We see the smile that means, just sign here and don't ask questions. We see it all. We just choose our battles carefully. And when we fight smart, not loud, not angry, not with fists or shouting, with documents, with evidence, with the patience that comes from decades of experience. Miles learned that lesson the expensive way. I hope whoever's reading this learns it the easy way. If you're watching this and something feels familiar, check your papers, look at the signatures, check the dates, ask questions, and if you find something wrong, don't wait. Don't hope it's a misunderstanding. Act, because the people who count on you staying quiet are the same people who will tell everyone you're confused when you start asking questions. If this story resonated with you, there are more like it. Stories about people who fought back quietly, who refused to be victims in their own lives, because justice doesn't shout, it just waits, and then it wins.